everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
you know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? It's All in Football Week 6, and that's right, Chris. I was smiling during the intro because I'm back, baby. That's right. We're back, baby, in Canada for everybody to watch every single week now, and that's why I also wore my Mario and Luigi as from the South Park. North of the border, Canada. Terrence and Phil. Yeah, Terrence and Phil. You didn't even say it right. I'm not your guy, pal. I'm not your pal, buddy. I'm not your putty guy. And you're like, I'm not your buddy, buddy. You even said it wrong.
Yeah, I know, but that's how I like to say it. You're not my buddy. But yeah, it's a long going joke, I guess, with us. But yeah, super cool to be north of the border on Canadian TV. Hello, friends.
I've actually been north of the border, actually, with Chris up in Toronto before. So yes. I have been to your hometown area. It's very nice. I've seen Pat Mayo, as everybody knows for Pat Mayo, but we are recapping Week 6. It is All in Football. In case, hey, the first time you're watching us, make sure who's not following you in Canada at this point, Chris? That's your hometown. They should all be following you. But in case they're not, at Chris Meaney, at FTN, 20% off with code ALLIN, part of the name of the show. And if you want to go to The Athletic, where my work is, theathletic.com/ I don't know why I do this every single time. You notice that? I do that every time. / BetsTV. It's like, I really have to emphasize that slash. BetsTV, all capitals, BETSTV, and you get a first free month over there. Since we are recapping Week 6, Chris, and we are north of the border, for me at least, I guess you're technically on your side of the border. Why not go to other borders across the water? And we'll start with that game and talk about the fact that the Jaguars got their first win in 17 years, and they also got the first win ever for a rookie quarterback in London. Here's the big thing. Like, yay, Lawrence, yay, the Jaguars won, but do you want to start good or bad? Do you want to start on the positive or the negative side of this game? And be serious, because I usually reverse it on you, so be serious.
I know. I am going to be serious here. Come on, give me positive. Let's start the morning in a positive way here.
All right, Jalen Waddle. Let's talk Jalen Waddle. Yes. Biggest game of the year, biggest game of his rookie season, biggest game of his career, technically, so far. No Devonte Parker still, which is kind of weird. Gesicki also has been playing great because there's been no Parker and no Will Fuller. And there was some concern, though, that Tua coming back would hurt Gesicki because there wasn't that connection early on. But from the Dolphins' standpoint, before we get to the bad of the side of things, on the good side of Waddle, where are you thinking? Is he officially putting himself into the wide receiver 2 conversation going forward? Or does this offense still leave too many question marks for you? And did we have too many concerns about Gesicki? Is it like arrows up for these guys right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Parker's not a guy that we could ever really trust, right? It's just like, stay healthy. We believe in the talent, but him staying on the football field's been an issue. Yeah, I have no problem moving Waddle into that low-end wide receiver 2 range. I'm thinking of guys that have been in that range that I'd like to just get out of there. I mean, Allen Robinson, another week of Robinson. Like, is that the upside? We just
Waddle or Allen Robinson rest of the way?
Waddle,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even close because he's at least going to get a lot of volume and a lot of targets. We've seen it now. You mentioned with Jacoby Brissett when he came in, I think there was that game where he had a ton of targets against Las Vegas. But even before that, he was still getting familiar with Tua. Of course, they're familiar with each other, but inside the Dolphins system, he had a touchdown in week 1. Yeah, I was really encouraged with yesterday's usage. I mean, we'll probably never get his catch prop at 4.5 again. But if we can get it at 5.5 moving forward, that's something that I'll consider, right? Because I think he has a role. And even, you mentioned Gesicki, even with Smythe in there, I thought was getting a lot of targets. You know, Gesicki was still on the field and getting his. So, yeah, arrows up for both of those guys. I think Waddle, do you agree? Do you think like
that's why I went, if you didn't hear my because I am definitely with you on Waddle. I'm still legitimately concerned about Gesicki when we have the return of Devonte Parker, which obviously is a question. I mean, this has been 2 weeks in a row, and supposedly he flew to London, and there was a chance he could play, but then out in general because Gesicki, again, at the preseason was Waddle runs so much out of the slot. Gesicki did a ton of work out of the slot last year for his success. And here's the thing, coming out of this game, He was on the field fewer times than Durham Smythe was. Now, he ran more routes, but he wasn't on the field as well. He only ran 12 more routes, too. It was 36-24. So I think Gesicki's a good sell high because there's a lot of people. And the problem is there's not a lot of people want to pay for tight ends in general. But if there is somebody out there, and there's going to be another sell high I think we have at tight end, which might be like an eyebrow raising. But let's talk about the bad side of the Dolphins. Look, we said last week, Gaskin, if they're in the lead, you don't want them. It's the reverse Miles Sanders. We just saw what happened. They were contending the entire time. No Gaskin, but on top of it, no Gaskin after he fumbled. They kind of got a little bit involved after that. But this is just the worst version of the Ravens, isn't it? It's like we don't want to. Like, you're never going to guess right, it seems. Like, even if the game script is there, you still can't guess right.
No, you can't. It's just, Tino talked, running the show here for us on Mean Streets last week. We talked about Gaskin as well. Is a guy maybe you just want to hold on your roster because running back depth, you want to have it. But you're right. I mean, we kind of called this. It was a game against the Bucs last week where they were playing from behind and they had to throw the football. Now they got Atlanta this week. It's probably not a game that they're really going to be playing from behind. And who's going to be running the football? It'll probably just be, 3 guys there. Maybe week 8 against the Bills, you can roll out Gaskin as a flex with some bye weeks and some injuries. But yeah, that's it, man.
Speaking
even after
of
that,
which,
it's Houston.
there's
It's not a good spot.
6 teams on buys this week. This is the 16 bye. This is the hell that we're about to run into, not to mention with all these injuries on top of it. In case anybody hasn't looked already.
How come Miami doesn't get a bye, by the way? They went to London. I thought every team that goes to London gets a bye.
No, they don't even. Jacksonville does. But
Yeah.
Miami apparently can handle it.
Apparently.
I don't know if you know this. The Cowboys actually have back-to-back Thursday games, too, with the Thanksgiving. They have the week before or after. I don't remember. But, hey, Reed wants to give you a shout-out. You're killing it with your NHL props. Yes, he is. Also, because I haven't bet NHL yet, which means, Chris, you're probably doing really well because every time I bet it, I ruin his props.
I don't know, man. I had a pretty bad Saturday, Reed, but thanks for checking in. We'll bounce back on Monday here.
Yeah, and this is perfect. Reed, it was a work league. It does. Every league counts, but he flipped Gesicki for Pitts. Love it. That's exactly. I would absolutely, do something like that. Angelo, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, I'll tell you where I got my shirt from. I don't know, like giving free promotion to. I don't know how that works. So we'll say. On the Jacksonville side of it, I jokingly said this yesterday during the game, Chris. I tweeted this out. I said, PSA, the problem is Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer like Jamal Agnew more than you like Laviska Shenault. I mean, but we're chuckling here, but is Jamal Agnew a thing? Like, it's actually kind of a twofold thing for you, Chris. One, is Jamal Agnew a thing? And then 2, is Laviska Shenault a buy low, or is what we were concerned about at the beginning of the season when DJ Chark was healthy, it's just Chenault's in this role. Urban Meyer says, screw it. That's his role. Too bad.
Yeah, last week I felt like I was more into buying on Laviska than you were. You were a little bit more hesitant than me. And, yesterday I watched and I was kind of thinking about you and like, man, maybe I shouldn't be in on buying this guy. I feel like what we said yesterday. Yeah, I do have him in one league where, I'm going to keep him. I'm going to continue to roll him out as a flex. It's a full point PPR. I think he could do enough for me in that sort of setting. But you're right, man. A lot of people really do like this guy. I think a lot of people in the fantasy community are just rooting for him. They want to see that next step. So, I mean, if you have him, I would make him available just to see. There's probably somebody in your league that really likes his upside. Yeah, absolutely.
If I was doing like the SATs and I was doing one of those, like the comparison ones, I would be like, an apple is to an apple as Kristen Michael is to blank. And Laviska Shenault would be one of the 4 choices. And that'd be the right choice because this is what I said to you last week, is that it's the Kristen Michael. We are enamored with the talent for good reason. You could go back to my rookie profile. I like Laviska's talent. There's no question about it. But we get enamored with players and think, hey, if they only did this more. I made that mistake this year, Chris. I made that mistake with Trey Sermon. And I was saying Shanahan saw how good Trey Sermon just looked with Trey Lance under center. Well, technically not under center, but I said, you saw the talent. You saw what he could be. And then Shanahan said, nope, it's Elijah Mitchell. So we all make the mistake. I'm not precluded from that. So speaking of mistakes.
Listen.
You ruined my translation. Go ahead.
I did. I just want to say one more thing. Is that, listen, if you are in a deep league, like now is officially the time to get him though, isn't it, Jake? Because
yes.
I'm already seeing his ownership has dropped 6%. You're right. He'll probably never be cheaper. They're on a bye. So if you do want him, like, go ahead. Like, now would be the time. He did get 10 targets, and Trevor Lawrence is improving every single game. I've liked what I've seen from Lawrence over the past couple of weeks, but he did miss him on a couple throws. That's all I'm going to say about all of that. But you're right. Somebody in your league probably likes Laviska more than we do.
Yeah, well, and then Jamal Agnew is legitimately involved. I also would buy low on Dan Arnold as well. Everybody's the streamer of the week, myself included, but at the same time, definitely Dan Arnold. Similar situation. He was out there a ton, out there plenty, just didn't hit that week. You know what? You ruined my transition of the things like that, so I'm going to a different game now. This is how this works, because my new transition is going to be, speaking of targets not going where they're intended, there is nobody in the entire fantasy football landscape I'm trying to buy more this week and buy low on than Chase Claypool. I am going to send out every trade offer under the sun the 2 weeks prior, huge games, because I said, heads up, you should be buying low for Chase Claypool everywhere. Ben's missed him on a couple throws. He could easily have 80-plus yards in this game. And somebody came back and is like, well, the problem is Ben's still his quarterback. He's going to keep missing him. Did we ignore the 2 weeks prior? Did we ignore the 2 weeks prior with one of those games was with Juju Smith-Schuster, who is now out for the season? Sure, Ben looks terrible, and Ben can't throw the ball much anymore. But Claypool is still the one of the two wide receivers of him and Deontay Johnson. I am buying him everywhere, but it's part two of this question to you, Chris. I'm assuming you agree with me, but is Air Fryermuth back into relevancy again? Because with no Juju Smith-Schuster, he was getting a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, he was, and he was getting opportunities on third down. It looked like Ben was looking his way when they needed to move the chains, which is encouraging, I suppose, because it feels like Ben isn't confident in himself maybe to push the ball down the field to a guy like Claypool or Deontay when he needs to get that first down.
I know, Ben's I need 5 yards. I'm throwing it 4, and hopefully he gets the
Najee?
5th.
Where's Najee? Where's Fryermuth? Like, where
Does
are those
Ben know
guys
how to throw it past the first down marker on third down anymore?
You know what, man? They really escaped last night. I think if the Steelers lost last night, it would just be an absolute crapshoot here this morning and in Pittsburgh. We would be talking about this team as like maybe just straight up finished because they let Seattle come back in that game against Geno. Like, there's no excuse. You're on your home field. You have to blow them out, and they were on their way. But yeah, Ben, I don't know. I'm kind of with you on Claypool. I definitely agree that he's absolutely available with the Steelers going on a bye. I like the talent. I question some of like if he can.
Here,
there's been some bad drops.
Okay.
There's been some bad
sure.
drops. There's been some bad throws.
Do we want to put a loogie on it, or what is it? What's the loony? What, we don't want to put a loopy on it, whatever the hell the thing's called.
Welcome to Canada, where Jay calls loonies loogies. Yeah, let's put a loony on it. Let's do it. I don't know what we're putting on, but...
Claypool better rest of the way than Jalen Waddle.
Ooh, wow. Half point setting. I'm assuming we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to make that bet. I probably lean Claypool.
Okay.
I'd probably lean Claypool there. I think he's got a bit of a higher ceiling. But for the sake of just making a bet on the show, I mean, I'm down.
I mean, we can find somebody else. Yeah, we can always find somebody else. So, well, let's talk about the Seattle side. 2 parts in this one, too, is Alex Collins. Do you buy high? Good. No, you say, look, I say, do you buy high? Because nobody, myself included, from examples, like I was throwing out offers everywhere because I had Alex Collins as my RB5. For everybody out there to be like, Jake, you're trading a running back. You just said you can never have too many running backs. As an RB5, when you have that to try to improve your team somewhere else, was my whole point. I told Chris about some of the trades. We're not going down through my team. But the point is I was fielding offers for Collins because I knew he was a 3-week option. But I now say buy high because is he a 3-week option, Chris? Like the way that he looked in this game against a tough Steelers defense, does Carson, if he comes back in the 3 weeks, 1, come back to a timeshare, or even 2, the lead job if Alex Collins continues to play like this? Did the door open to Carson get Wally pipped, honestly?
Yeah, he might. I mean, it's a really tough spot this week against the Saints, but the Steelers have been historically strong against running backs as well. I mean, Collins looked really good. I don't know what the heck Pete Carroll said at halftime, like whatever adjustments that he made, but the offensive line...
That was one of the best halftime adjustments I've ever seen.
Oh, my goodness, right? It looked like they weren't going to score a point in that football game, and then they almost won, and they scored on the 3 first series that they had in the second half. They ran the football. That's all they really did is run the football, and Pittsburgh couldn't do anything about it. The offensive line looked really strong. Yeah, I agree that I think that Collins will step in here. And you know what? I'm a little worried about Chris Carson, man. I forget who the guy is at The Athletic. I wish I knew his name. He said last week he was talking about Chris Carson, and he didn't think at that point he wasn't placed on IR.
The Seahawks?
That covers the Seahawks, yeah.
Michael Sean Doger?
Yes. And he had just said, like, paraphrasing here, but he had said that before he was even placed on IR that it could be a long-term thing here. Like, obviously a neck injury is very significant, something you don't want to rush back from, especially for, a running back taking all those shots.
Yeah.
So we're looking here at no Collins this week against the Saints, no Collins against the Jags, and then they're on a bye. I don't know. Chris Carson
does it come up back after the bye? Question mark. I mean, Inside Injuries was speculating, saying that you kind of need more information when it comes to a neck, and they don't really have it, and that's kind of similar warranted concerns there. So that's why I said I would buy high. Obviously I'm not paying top 20 running back. But if you need running back help, I mean, I much prefer Collins to what's going on in the Miami backfield and what's going on with the. Let's go. Speaking of back,
I would start him over Miles Sanders. I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade Miles Sanders for.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll go to that game. We'll go to the Miles Sanders game. We'll go to the Thursday Night Football real quick from that one, because that's how bad things are for Miles Sanders. Is he even a buy? Like, do you even watch Miles Sanders? Let me put it this way, Chris. Miles Sanders or Miles Gaskin, the two different Miles is spelled differently.
I would take Sanders just because I believe in the talent, but I will say that the schedule turns a little bit softer, doesn't it? I mean, you got Las Vegas here, you got Detroit and the Chargers. Everyone seems to run all over the Chargers. It's like part of it. I think the
top
Chargers
three worst run defense in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. So those three matchups are really good. I don't know what else to say about Miles Sanders. Do you? Like, it's so annoying to talk about this backfield for the past couple of years. It's just always been, okay, it's Doug Peterson, and now it's not. Like, Doug Peterson is gone, and they're still not giving him the ball. They were screaming in Philadelphia for him to get the ball in that Thursday night game, and when they got it, even though he got stuffed behind the line of scrimmage and it was like -2 yards, they gave him a standing O. They cheered. They were so happy that he finally had a rushing attempt. I have no idea what the heck is going on in Philly, but these next 3 games are games.
See, I don't even know about the Chargers one, because I wish the Chargers was last week so we had the litmus test for it, because they should be able to run, but at the same time, that's a game where they should probably have to pass and be down, which means no Miles Sanders. That means more kids. So it's like anything from Tampa Bay side, buy low and on Mike Evans. That was just what happens with the Buccaneers. Somebody gets left out. Leonard Fournette, 100% a thing now. OJ Howard, a thing until Gronk gets back. Any of those intrigue you? Oh, look at this. I got a smile at the end.
Yeah, not Howard, but yeah, they kind of left him all alone. The Eagles have struggled against tight ends. Fournette is absolutely a thing, man. I know you've been ranking him highly. I have. I actually love it. I think he's just, it just looks good. Like, he looks really good.
No,
and there's some clarity.
I like Leonard Fournette. I hate it just because I'm just waiting for the week where all of a sudden it's
Ronald Jones out of nowhere.
I jokingly said this to Pat last week on his show. I was like, it was so funny. We were doing the show and it hadn't happened yet. I was like, watch like Jacques Patrice get cut and then the Bucks bring him in to start. And then 3 hours later, as we finish the show, Patrick gets cut by the 49ers. I was like, oh my God, Pat, it's happening. Watch him coming in. But fortunately, that didn't happen. But yeah, it is Fournette. I'm so scared. Like, anything. Yeah, I mean, one fumble, it feels like, it's Bruce Arians is just, oh my God.
I know, but it's true. But man, he looks awesome. And I think he has 3 catches in every single game.
There's no question about it.
He looks fantastic. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a running back that I could even put in that range where, I mean, it's Leonard. Here's one for you. Because let's jump to Detroit real quick. Leonard Fournette or DeAndre Swift, who 2 weeks in a row now has saved his ass. Let's be honest about it. Sorry, Canada, for the curse word. That's a weak curse word anyway. But saved his tail by garbage time 2 weeks in a row. DeAndre Swift or Leonard Fournette? Because I think at this point it's Leonard Fournette, and I can't believe we're saying this.
I know, but you know what? The reason that you're saying you can't believe you're saying this is because we felt like this was going to be a three-headed monster. Yeah, it's Bruce Arians, but we also thought that Ronald Jones would get sprinkled in, and then Giovanni Bernard here and there. But the Bucs are just rolling over everybody. There's no real reason for them to play Gio, and there's no real reason for them to play Ronald Jones. So I would lean with Leonard Fournette. Man, I like the talent of DeAndre Swift. I know you do as well.
Love it too.
He's shown signs of like being very Austin Eckler-like just in there and catching balls in the backfield.
But Anthony Lynn has shown signs of being Anthony Lynn.
There's the kicker. Yeah, absolutely. I would go with Leonard Fournette. Yeah. Crazy.
Out of that same game, so Amon-Ra St. Brown, still PPR, half-point PPR, solid game again. You have some more confidence in him. How about the Cincinnati side? I mentioned this last week. I think I said it to you. If I didn't say it to you, I said it on another I don't know. Too many shows. I said Joe Burrow was... Did I say this to you? I said Joe Burrow's turning into Ryan Tannehill? Is that who
you didn't say
okay.
that. No.
I said it to somebody. I said it a couple of times. It's like, and it's the efficiency. He doesn't run like Ryan Tannehill does. Not that Ryan Tannehill runs a ton, but my point is we were excited for Joe Burrow this year. I say we as in the fantasy community because we were assuming 35, 40 attempts per game. And it was like, I had him as leading the league in pass attempts. That is definitively not happening. But on the good side of it, Chris, he is. He's turned into Ryan Tannehill of 2020, where he's throwing 2-3 touchdowns every single week on 25 attempts, 22 attempts, and he's out of this game because they're blowing him out. The only question I have out of this is, one, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how much do you trust Joe Burrow as your only quarterback in fantasy? And then 2, would you buy low on T. Higgins because he was quiet in this game?
Yeah, I buy on T. Higgins. Boyd was pretty quiet too. I picked up Burrow to stream him against Detroit. I was happy with the outcome, but now he's got the Ravens this week, so I don't think I'm going to roll him out in Baltimore. So that answers your question. I don't really. You would play him against the Ravens in Baltimore?
Get so beat down field deep. I think Jamar Chase, another top 10 week coming in here.
Would you play Tannehill against KC or Joe Burrow against
Joe
Baltimore?
Burrow?
Like that's.
Let me ask you this: why are we starting Ryan? Why are we still starting Ryan Tannehill?
But
obviously we have tonight's game.
Why did we play Taylor? Why did anybody play Taylor Heineke against the Chiefs secondary? Because the Chiefs suck.
Yeah, but
right?
and look what happened.
Well,
it was a mediocre game for Tyler Heineke.
Right, but Tannehill's better than him, and he's got better options.
This year? Question mark?
Maybe not fantasy. Yeah,
AJ Brown's still not 100%, who now, by the way, has an illness. For everybody out there, in case you
tonight.
didn't say, make sure you pay attention for Monday Night Football. Julio Jones is coming back early. So on top of that, it just, like, it is, I don't know. I think it's Burrow easy. Like, you tell me Burrow versus Tannehill week in and week out, and I'm taking Burrow.
No, I agree 100% with that.
Okay.
I was just thinking the matchup. Like, I may lean Tannehill against the Chiefs in a potential shootout than Joe Burrow going into Baltimore, where he has.
Then let me flip it.
He has struggled.
Ryan Tannehill versus the Chiefs if the same week Joe Burrow was facing Denver. Because I would still go Joe Burrow at this point.
Yeah,
I am not
a higher ceiling with Burrow.
I'm just not benching Joe Burrow at this point. So, all right.
I get it. And the matchup's coming up. You got the Jets next week. Anyways, you're right. He's not throwing as much. I think last year he had every single one of his games are over 30 attempts, even the game he left early with an injury. And now
he was averaging close to 40.
40.4 was behind Ben at 40.5 last year, just to give you a taste of that. He only has one game over 32, which is the game that went to overtime and nobody could make a kick.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Joe Burrow, you should have drafted him. You should be enjoying it. I want to bring in, if anybody else has any questions, by the way, Phil Mike has a question here that actually loops into the Denver game I was going to bring up anyway. Las Vegas, Denver. Interesting enough, there's nothing really to talk about on the Las Vegas side. It was just Josh Jacobs is back. Darren Waller, go buy low if anybody's doubting Darren Waller because it's been a couple weeks of being quiet but still productive. Henry Ruggs, I'm going to victory lap him until the day I die. I had somebody last week, Chris, they're like, I don't know about Henry Ruggs. Should I drop him for Kadarius Toney? He hasn't been doing much. I said, he's wide receiver 32 on the year. What do you mean he hasn't been doing much? It's like, outside of the touchdowns, he's like, exactly. I'm like, okay, he's wide receiver 32 without the touchdown. Like, what do you want? Anyway.
You got him for free. You got him in
exactly. I was like, what are you complaining? Like, it's funny that some people, you get these players for nothing in drafts, and then they vastly outperform that, and then they still get upset. They're like, oh, well, he's not doing this. I was like, he's getting more, like Brandon Cooks. Like, first bad game of his year, and you didn't have to pay but like a 9th round for Brandon Cooks. We're going to talk about that game in a second. But the Denver-Las Vegas one, Cortland Sutton, so Phil Mike's question was about the garbage time, and that he kind of saved his day too, like DeAndre Swift. Teddy Bridgewater, miserable interception day, but the numbers at the end of the day, 300. It was basically a Jameis Winston game, the 300, 3-3. A lot of threes in there. But we have Jerry Jeudy coming back. So is Cortland Sutton now a sell high because it's about to get muddy? And what are you doing with this Denver backfield? Because it's still split 50-50, and people are out there, go trade for Javonte Williams, and yet this backfield is still 50-50. And Mike Boone got involved, being activated.
I'm done with Devonte, unfortunately. Like, this could be a Cam Akers thing where he wins you a bunch of consolation brackets, and it's like, great. Awesome. You had him on your bench all yesterday. I was back and forth on starting him and Damian Harris. Damian Harris. Finally went to Harris, and I thought I was kicking myself early because I was like, you know what? I really do feel like this will be the breakout game for Williams. It's a good matchup. He had a strong showing last week. Melvin Gordon hasn't practiced. It's like 3 straight weeks where Gordon doesn't really practice. And you'd think that Williams would just take over a little bit. And it's just straight 50-50. That's it. I think he had one more touch than him. He has had another highlight reel run where he hurdled a dude. And he still can't get more play than Melvin Gordon. That's it. It's just a split. It is what it is.
Mike Boone's in there now, too.
Yeah, we're into week 7 now, and it's a split. If you own Sutton, see what you could get for him. Make him available. He's not going to get 14 targets every week, but he's still a part of the offense. He has been boom or bust. He's had 3 very boom weeks and 3 absolute dud weeks from him. So it does sound like Judy could potentially
That's
come
the
back
one.
This week.
So Lee just popped him and says, "Fan, what he is, or is there more there?" And I said, "No, that's the bigger sell high right now because Fant is just he is up and down as they get at tight end, and that's before Judy's about to come back. It's just I have never been in on Fant, and I continue. Like somebody actually even asked me, I had Noah Fant inside my top 10 this week, Chris. Why do you hate Noah Fant? I'm like, oh my god! And I know because Noah Fant had a top 3 week, and we go like, see, you hate Noah Fant. I'm like, oh my god, yes, I hate Noah Fant. He is the worst person.
We already
in the world.
did this before when we did another show when the Broncos drafted all their studs, right? They drafted Judy and they drafted KJ, and then we talked about them and Melvin Gordon in the offense. And I remember all the comments when I clipped it and posted on Twitter. It's like, why didn't you guys talk about Fant? It's like okay, man.
Because he's Noah Fant.
But it was, Jake, maybe that offense will change a little bit in Las Vegas. They took shots early down the field with Ruggs, which is nice. Usually it's just 1 or 2 games. I'm assuming it's going to be a John Gruden playbook the rest of the way. Maybe they tinker with it.
I don't know. Did you see Brian Terrell Owens-Edwards with that catch late? I don't know.
Yeah. But he played more snaps and got more targets.
That's the only tricky. So I know you're saying that, but all kidding aside, with the coaching change there, is that maybe that's the thing is that Brian Edwards becomes a thing because Henry Ruggs was a thing and Hunter Renfrow has been a thing and Darren Waller is Darren Waller, but maybe now we get Brian Edwards out there a little bit more because Brian Edwards pretty much not checking in until 1 minute left in the game for the prior weeks. I was gonna go. I forget what game I was gonna go to, so I don't even know. So let's go back to a team that apparently Aaron Rodgers owns more than the head coach because Aaron Rodgers yelled at the fans in great fashion. Like I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan, but I did love that from like a fan perspective, like liking sports perspective. I like that kind of stuff. I like trash talking to a degree. That was funny trash talking. I own you. But Khalil Herbert, that's what I want to really talk about is Khalil Herbert went bananas in a Khalil Herbert fashion. But Damian Williams is back because it's COVID. It wasn't not the IR. David Montgomery's still out until after their bye, so you still have 3 to 4 more weeks of this situation. Did Khalil Herbert do enough? We have to try to make our best guess here. We're probably not going to know. The very first game between these two, it was a 50-50, but that was a game they were in control and was pretty much running out the clock in the fourth quarter where Herbert got a lot of his touches. And then Herbert goes off against the Packers, and Damian Williams didn't look bad. So how do you treat this going into week 7, Chris? Is it Herbert over Williams, or is this basically the Broncos?
Yeah, I think it's basically the Broncos. They want to run the football. I'm big on Herbert here. This is a betting show. We had the over 16.5 at plus money. I thought that was a shocking line considering he had 18 carries, splitting time with Damian Williams. I think this week it could be Damian because it's the Bucs, right? I mean, Herbert. Did he catch a couple passes? I think he had 2 targets and 2 grabs. He's 19
Damian's
carries.
The better pass blocker, pass
zone.
catcher.
Yeah, so that's what.
So that's what you're looking at here.
I think.
Which, by the way,
sneaky Damian week.
I know parlays are always ways to lose money, but I missed a 7-way parlay on one part, and I'm going to save that for the next game. Of course I did. I forgot to send that to you, Herbert. No, you made me think of it because Herbert was in there. I saw that one. I was like, that's easy. Thank you. Boom. No problem. Sure. That Justin Fields looked pretty solid in that game. Now. Allen Robinson didn't have a great game, but it was better than things we've seen for a long time. It was wide receiver 4. Darnell Mooney scored a touchdown. Do you have any positive feelings for the passing game for Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney? Because, again, it wasn't a very good game for Allen Robinson, which means you might get people willing to just I'm done with him. Like, that was the good game for Justin Fields, and that's still all he did. Like, I'm putting that in quotes.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I know this sounds crazy, and people watching may think that, but I wouldn't be shocked if Allen Robinson gets dropped in like 10-team leagues. People may just have enough now. Like, we know that Allen Robinson is really good. There's a lot of people out there that just play in their home office. They don't know that Allen Robinson was a top 10 wide receiver in each of the last 2 seasons. They just know that a consensus guy was a top 10 wide receiver, and they drafted him pretty high. And they're seeing other guys ball out like Waddle, right? Who's got a 60% ownership. Why am I hanging on to Allen Robinson when this Waddle guy is getting 10 catches and 2 touchdowns and 13 targets? I was encouraged with the game. It was Justin Fields' best game. He was forced to throw the football a little bit more with the Packers pushing the pace, which is what I thought. And now they got Tampa this week. So how much success are they going to have running the football? We just talked about Damian Williams catching a couple balls out of the backfield. I think we can see Robinson trend up, but I don't know, man. Like, what's his upside? What's his ceiling here? I don't.
Who, Robinson's or Fields?
Yeah, Robinson. I don't want him on my team. I don't want to start him. But I would
say going forward, the difference between Allen Robinson and Marvin Jones is probably.
I'd rather have Jones.
That's what I was about to say. Is like, at least the difference is I still think we just saw the super quiet game from Marvin Jones last week. And then yesterday he had a great game, amazing game, one of the best games of the week. But I think that's what maybe Allen Robinson has that, maybe. And that's the thing where I think you might get less volatility than Marvin Jones with Allen Robinson, but I think Allen Robinson is now settling into we're hoping for 4 for 60, and that's a good week.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to throw the football against Tampa Bay here this week. Like, they're not going to have a choice, right? Like, the Bucs are going to put up 30-plus points. So this could be his best. This could be his best week.
The Bucs are going to put up 30-plus points, and Tom Brady's still going to keep throwing touchdowns. And please don't get him hurt. It's like they don't care. They're like, Tom Brady's going to throw 7 touchdowns. Like, it's like, whatever.
Unbelievable.
You know who didn't throw a lot of touchdowns? There's my transition. I'd finally get back to this game that you ruined before. I was going to transition to this game with the missing all his targets and talk about Daniel Jones, who seemed to be throwing the ball blindfolded yesterday in that game. Oh, God, was that miserable for the Giants. This team in disarray, but there are some positive things to take out of this. For all intents and purposes, Chris, for the fact that the Giants barely got on the scoreboard, are you taking a positive outlook on Devonte Booker coming out of that game?
And he played a lot of snaps.
He played a lot of snaps. He got double-digit points in full-point PPR. He actually scored 10.9 in full-point PPR, which is 0.1 fewer than the entire Giants team scored in real life. So you can look at that.
Goodness,
I mean,
man.
we're laughing, but I mean, for serious here, for him to score that when they only put 11 points up and how miserable that team went, like, I didn't want to start Devonte Booker. He was inside my top 25 to 30, somewhere around there. I didn't want to start him against the Rams, but we're laughing, but I think that's at least a positive that he's going to get that kind of volume.
No, it is, and we said this last week. We said that if there was no Saquon, he would get a ball. I mean, he played more snaps than anybody last week when
Gary
Barkley
Brightwell
played
didn't even get on the
bit.
field. It was Elijah Penny.
Right. So Barkley left last week, and Booker still played like 86% of the snaps. Yeah, he's going to be the guy. I said that he's a bell cow back. He's not a great bell cow back, but he's going to be a guy that gets all the carries, gets the touches in the red zone. I mean, the only reason Penny got in there is because the game was out of hand, but he had 6 targets and 4 grabs. And, Tony left yesterday. Kenny Galladay's hurt. There's like so many issues with this Giants offense that he could
Kenny Galladay could
5 or 6 targets.
Sorry to cut you off. I want to talk about that.
When's Saquon coming back?
That's up in the air. So we kind of put that to the side. And we're not talking about the Rams because the Rams were the Rams. There's nothing to even go down the road of the Rams there. But Shepard's volume this is where everybody's like, oh, you have Shepard ahead of Tony and blah, 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 no Slayton. And I just kind of had him back to back when Slayton was officially announced out. But why Shepard? Well, because Shepard is Shepard. So I think Shepard is still locked in. Like, what's the difference? Put it this way, Chris. What's the difference between Shepard and Jalen Waddle? If nothing else, the volume is more sustainable with Shepard because it has been. Even if Galladay comes back, that's where I want to go with this, is because Pettis got involved. It's a complete mess. Tony hurt himself again. Going into the next week, if Galladay and Slayton almost played this week, you have Galladay, Slayton, Shepard all back. Is it still Shepard number 1, or would you put Galladay back at number 1 for his upside?
No, it's been Shepard number 1 since week 1. I saw enough week 1. Shepard has been Jones's guy, for I don't know, a couple of years now. Like, it's Shepard. There's there's a solid safe floor there. If we're shooting for upside, it's Golladay, but there's a connection there with Sterling Shepard. And man, Kadarius Toney was well on his way to another. I think like 4 completions from Jones, and Toney had 3 of them. He was on his way to another, I think, solid day.
I was watching the beginning of that game. I was like, whoop, I was too low on Kadarius Toney. And then because Shepard is, you just said it, Shepard is his guy, but it seemed like Kadarius Toney became his new, better version of Shepard, which is what the Giants drafted him for next year, to move on from Shepard and go to Toney. But we'll have to watch that situation. If Toney is out there, do you downgrade Shepard?
Just a little. I think you said you had him side by side. I would have him side by side too, as like solid flex plays and flirting with like wide receiver. We're getting into 6 teams on bye. We're getting all these injuries. I think both of these guys, if they're healthy and rolling against Carolina, I would play them as like low end wide receiver 3s, because I think the volume and the opportunity is going to be there. And I don't know how successful they will be running the football, even against Carolina's a tough team to run against as well. I mean, don't tell that to Dalvin Cook, but
well, I mean,
they're
he's
not
Dalvin Cook.
They're not on the same level. But I mean, this is my issue with Jones, Jake. Like, he's a great fantasy quarterback, but he has these games. Great. It was a tough matchup against the Rams, but my goodness, man, like, I felt for the guy out there. It's just,
you know who I said this to my buddy over the weekend. He was like, "Are you feeling better about Daniel Jones?" Like, still no. And my answer was this: Daniel Jones is if Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky, who are quarterbacks on the same team, had a love child. That's who he is, because he's better than Trubisky, but he's worse than Josh Allen. He's the love child of those 2 quarterbacks. That's who Daniel Jones is.
I'm rooting for him, man, but I don't know. I think they may have to move on, but they need to help him out and just, I don't know. There's a lot. I mean,
hey, no better year to have a mess of college quarterbacks to be the year that you might want to move on. Good luck with that. Good luck, Lions, if you're trying to move on from Jared Goff. Yeah. Hopefully it's Malik Willis, but that's off-season talk. Where was I was going to go, and I was going to make a transition, and I forget. I was going to say, speaking of flexing in the backfield, that's what I was going to say. That's where I was going to go with this one. All 3 of the Ravens running backs got the flex in the backfield, because Latavius Murray, touchdown. Le'Veon Bell, touchdown. Devonta Freeman, touchdown. What, are you really taking anything out of this game? No, you're shaking your head no. But what if Latavius Murray is banged up and out? Then are you maybe Le'Veon Bell? Holy crap.
You know what happens then?
Wait. Sidebar. Why did he pick 17? Like, I could understand 7 if he went single digits, or 27, or even 37, or even somebody. Who's the one? Didn't Devontae Freeman have 40-something one year? Like, 17? I was like, who the hell is this wide receiver lining up at running back? Oh, it's Le'Veon Bell.
I know. He looked super different out there, too. If Lott doesn't play, then Tyson Williams is going to be active, and then it's going to be the 3 of them running around. Probably. Wouldn't you think? He would be active. He may not touch the field. But just
there seems to be no rhyme or reason to this backfield.
A little bit there.
You have to pick. Put it this way: you have to pick one Ravens backfield running back.
I would pick Lapp, but now let's keep an eye on this injury. If it's not him, then it's Bell. Like, I would go to Bell, but it was Latavius early on. He had another red zone opportunity which he converted, and I would assume that he would be the guy. He would have maybe had over 50% of the snaps, and then it would just be a little bit of Bell and Freeman. But he left, and then we saw more Bell and more Freeman. So
here's the thing: everybody always talks about Shanahan, deservedly so, but he's the one we can trust this year because he has done nothing but prove that he wants Elijah Mitchell, whereas Harbaugh is just effing with our minds every single week.
He told us this, Jake. He told us this, though. He said that they were going to use every running back, and that's exactly what they're doing. And why wouldn't they, right? Because
none of them are that good.
All the backs. Exactly.
You know what was intriguing? There was a trade article about the Giants offloading players because they're done already. Oh, no, what a surprise. Saquon. That was the one they tossed out. They said Saquon because the Ravens have a lot of draft picks. And just... Yeah. Oh, could you imagine?
Saquon in that offense?
I was just about to say. No. I was just about to say. This is how good it would be: a healthy Christian McCaffrey or Saquon in the backfield of the Ravens. That would be the question. Like, that's the debate you could have. We go back to Saquon's rookie season where I think it was 0.1. He outscored Christian McCaffrey on a per game basis. Saquon in that backfield healthy, you might even get me to say number 1. Period.
Sure, and using some of our tools over at FTN, like explosive runs, and Dobbins and Gus Edwards were near the top, and all of that because of the lanes that Lamar Jackson opens up. Could you imagine?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, we could talk about that game. Rashad Bateman, he was a guy too that.
That's what I was gonna say. So you picking up Bateman if he's still out there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I'm there starting, but he didn't he lead
No,
the way
Sammy
for
Watkins
targets? Yeah,
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins does help, but he's going to be the future alpha in that offense. So,
Are you taking anything away from the Chargers offense bombing in that game?
oh man,
Oh
what was
my
that
God.
about?
Like
Yeah,
no Austin Eckler, no Justin
they got
Herbert, no
smacked.
Mike Wood. Like it's just like everything. It's just this off week for the Chargers.
Yeah, a little off week, and they still went for it. We all loved when they went for it in their own 20 last week, and they got it done. But it did it again yesterday, and it just looked silly. When it doesn't work, it does look silly because you're giving the game away. You're basically giving Baltimore free points. But I know
they're
at
on,
that point,
they're
were
on their
down
bye.
3
They're on their
scores.
bye. Who do they come back and play? I forget. Who they got New England at home out of the bye. So you got
Yeah,
weeks
it's
to
just
get
one of those
right.
games.
Yeah, and if you
Ravens are
can
good.
buy low, you would because they're on their bye. Maybe somebody's frustrated out of that game. Speaking of rookies, let's jump to Arizona. Rondell Moore, done being a thing for the second time. We tried to pronounce him dead once already for fantasy purposes, not obviously keeper or dynasty or anything like that. But we tried to pronounce him dead early this year and said, look, he's just fourth. It's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be a thing. And then Max Williams gets hurt. It's like, ooh, maybe they're going to find a ways because they need him. And then they trade for Zach Ertz, your boy. And he wasn't even out there, and Rondell Moore didn't really do anything. Is he done?
Right.
Are we done having hopes
Yeah.
for Rondell?
I think in redraft, yeah, it seems like he's only going to play 4 wide receiver sets. I mean, he can have some big games with Kyler, but I think Zach Ertz, the addition of Ertz, does hurt him. I'm happy for Zach. Sad to see him go, but I'm happy for Ertz. I think he could be good for Kyler,
And for
not from
Goddard.
a fantasy standpoint. Yeah, great for Goddard. Obviously, he's the big winner in that deal. But also from like a real life standpoint, I think it's a good addition for Arizona to have a guy like Zach Ertz there.
So the Cleveland offense might not have anybody left standing at this
man.
point, and they play on Thursday. So
Wow.
yeah,
Didn't know.
Kareem Hunt supposedly avoided Achilles injury. We don't know Nick Chubb. Let's play this as Monday, assuming Nick Chubb isn't out there. We know Kareem Hunt, whether it's not calf, he's not playing. So we have Donovan Peoples-Jones who goes off. I think that's the simple version, Chris. We know we're not chasing the wide receiver of the week for the like. It's not
Hail
even wide
Mary
receiver,
touchdown.
player of the week. Last week it was David Njoku. A few weeks ago it was Rashad Higgins. The next week is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like we're not doing this, right? We're not chasing anybody unless Jarvis Landry is out there, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So no Nick Chubb. Let's assume no Nick Chubb. Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton. We saw Dearness Johnson got one chance last year where he was the guy and did pretty well. And from the usage in that game, Felton still kept in that hybrid-y Anthony Schwartz role, which why did you draft Schwartz if you're going to use Felton that way? But sidebar or whatever. It's Dearness Johnson you think is going to be in the lead, right? And if so, Devonte Booker level, potentially more because it's the Browns. Is he potentially up on the level of Herbert and Hubbard? Or where are you putting him?
Yeah, I think maybe just below Hubbard. Man, Chuba looked good again yesterday. All these value backs like Williams and Herbert and Hubbard, and they look. I was pretty impressed with them. I would put them in kind of in that range. But you're right, Cleveland wants to run the football. Offensive line looked like Odell is hurt. After the game, Baker said he was in a tremendous amount of pain after hurting his shoulder even more. So it could just be a situation where Ernest just gets 20 touches in that game. And that's RB2, right? It's all about volume and opportunity. So I think he's definitely the guy to pick up. Short week, I didn't know that. So I don't know.
Well, so that was going to ask you that
Yikes.
question. Are you
I mean,
buying
big
high on
yikes.
Hubbard? Because Christian McCaffrey just goes on IR and mysteriously, get ready to come back. And then now on IR, which means another 3 weeks. Are you buying high on Hubbard with how he's looked?
I think so, yeah. Michael Florio, we know him, bring him up just because he tweeted, and it's not a shot at him. Him and I were having a back and forth. He said that it was a good buy low opportunity. You and I have talked about this a lot. I know you've said it in your Athletic article. If you can get a guy like Saquon and CMC, if you're off to a perfect start or one loss, to get those guys on your roster for fantasy football playoff run is tremendous. But soft tissue injuries are no joke. I mean, I know this is a hamstring and Mike Trout had a calf, but Trout was like a 4 to 6 week thing, and then he never played again.
Never
It
played
was just
again.
like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? And then obviously CMC had a setback.
I mean, Joe
It's a
Mixon
couple
never
years in a
returned
row
last
now.
year being week to week.
Exactly. So
Different
I
injury,
would
but
be
I mean, still same
hesitant.
thing. Yeah.
Same thing. I would be hesitant to draft to acquire CMC, and man, Chuba is. He was
Well, that's
the
why I said somebody was-
dropped player last week in fantasy, guys.
Because
be
Christian
patient with
McCaffrey
your
was supposed to come
rosters.
back.
Well,
Yeah.
we did this last year when Mike Davis, he was the most dropped too. And then CMC re-aggravated an injury, and then everyone rushed to grab Davis again, and he was winning people leagues. Be patient with these running backs. You never know what's going to happen.
I 100% agree. I've said, do not drop until officially game day. We are playing. And then even then, if they're a clear high end, like they get the volume bell cow wise, still not dropping, bench them, maybe trade them away or whatever it might be. But I'm with you 100% on that. And how about this one? This kind of situation is similar to the Alex Collins. Daryl, by the way, everybody, stop giving him the second L. He hands out those L's to other people who doubted him this week. That's where the other L goes. Nice. It's Daryl with one L. Wow. He went off. He actually looked better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire has looked this entire season. Are we concerned that Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't coming back to the lead job similar potentially like Chris Carson?
Yeah, I think we should be. You saw exactly what I saw. I was wondering if you would think that he looked better than CEH. He did. He looked better than him. He was catching balls. He was elusive. And CEH is out for a few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, when he comes back, they're not just going to be like, here you go. Here's 85% of the snaps and the touches. Daryl with one L, if he continues to look good, then I think he deserves
keep handing out those L's for everybody else.
The Chiefs yesterday, though, they found a way to win the game, but they're still doing some weird things, man.
Patrick Mahomes I think Patrick Mahomes is getting a little hero ball. He's getting the tiny key hero ball. He's like, oh, look, I can make these ridiculous blindfolded throw over the back of my shoulder with my wrong arm. It's kind of like, all right,
ridiculous.
Dude. Yeah, like, chill out. We still saw the one where you rolled all the way out and scrambled and hit across the middle of the field. That's Mahomes. You don't have to be doing the other stuff, too. Quickly, concern level. This is normally saved for Lauren tomorrow, which, by the way, next week, say goodbye to Lauren because we get Meaney twice next week, is 1 to 5 ducks. This is what I normally get. This is the concern level. 1 to 5 concerned ducks for Antonio Gibson right now.
Oh, yeah. 4 ducks.
Ooh, yeah.
4 ducks. Shouldn't you be? I mean, the injury, there was a shin thing all week. He didn't practice. And then I think knee popped up. And he's not getting the usage that we want anyways. Like, he's not getting that usage. He's not getting third down roll. He's JD. Yeah, I'm concerned. I absolutely am concerned. I was concerned heading into the season that he was getting overdrafted. I'm concerned.
All right. Then you're buying low on Terry McLaurin, though. Yes, 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Quickly, version-wise, concern level, Michael Pittman quiet. T.Y. Hilton was back. What do we Jonathan Taylor went off. Cooks bounced back. Yay. But are you concerned about Michael Pittman? Because T.Y. Hilton, severely involved, not severely, it sounds like bad, but heavily involved in his first game back where he wasn't even out there the entire time.
That's the key. He wasn't out there the entire time. He was limited, but when he was out there, he was the man. I think he led the team in targets and catches. Zach Pascal did nothing. Yeah, I am a little concerned because Pittman had like 60% of the team's air yards from week 2 to before yesterday. So I'm a little concerned. Man, Carson Wentz looked really good. Second straight week in a row, he looked good.
It looks like he's getting some of his mobility back. And I know I can do this with you because we got to get out of here. Thanks again to everybody in Canada joining us now. And make sure you're checking out Chris Meaney. Make sure you're checking out FTN code all in 20% off theathletic.com / I tried to stop myself halfway through / BetsTV, all capitals, first free month. Get out of here real quick. 10-second answer. 1 to 5 ducks. Damian Harris with what Stevenson did yesterday. Concern level.
2. I'm just a little. He was in the tent for a bit, and Stevenson was in there. So
I'm same thing. 2 is just like last week. That's it. Just the concern level of health being the only one. Amari Cooper, I see your question, Sam. We're going to save that for Lauren tomorrow when we do the full concern level rundown. So make sure we're back tomorrow. If you're watching live on YouTube, 11 a.m. with Lauren as we do waivers, concerns, and all that good stuff. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.